Excellent. All right, let's go ahead and get started. A quick note just for me to intro the team that will be presenting today. I've already introduced myself, Jerry Van Dalen. I'm the sales director here at Smarter Commerce. We're also joined by a couple of additional team members, but you will be hearing from Diego Fernandez, who's our director of product. He's going to be handling the demo portion of our agenda this afternoon out here on the East Coast. With that said, let me quickly show what our agenda is going to look like. I'll provide a brief overview of who exactly is Smarter Commerce, what is it. From there, I'll provide a conceptual overview of our Smarter Commerce payments solution, the different elements that play into that product. And the majority of our time today is going to be spent on the demo portion of our agenda. And of course, we hope to have some time for Q&A towards the end of our session. Don't let that stop you. If you do have any questions in the meantime, you're more than welcome to type it in using the Q&A panel or portal there on the Zoom panel, and that will allow our team to facilitate responses to your questions throughout the session. So with that said, let's go ahead and dive in. The first question I want to answer is, hey, who exactly is Smarter Commerce? I know we've got some customers on the call, but if you're new and haven't heard about Smarter Commerce before, we've been working in the JD Edwards space for over 30 years. Over those 30 years, we've implemented JD Edwards countless times, completed many, many projects with JD Edwards. But in the early 2000s, we began to realize a gap in the marketplace. We realized that a lot of JD Edwards organizations were accepting credit cards as a form of payment, but didn't really have a clean solution or process to tie that credit card payment process into the JD Edwards sales order entry um, process or the invoice payment process. And so Smarter Commerce, for the last 25 years, probably closer to 25 years, that's what we've been focusing on, helping JD Edwards organizations launch successful projects, not just in the credit card space, but also in the B2B e-commerce space, in the retail space as well. As an organization, we're based in Miami, Florida, and of course, we've got professionals, employees working all across the US as well as some abroad. And we'll talk a little bit more about the Smarter Commerce product family in just a minute. Here's a quick snapshot of some of our customers. This is by no means a complete list, but you'll note that all of these organizations are JD Edwards companies, number one. Number two, there's a mix here of B2B organizations and B2C organizations, a really broad mix of different industries and different sized organizations. I mean, some of these organizations are doing under $100 million of annual revenue, and some are doing over $30 billion with a B in annual revenue. It's really a broad customer base that we've been able to partner with over many years. So we know the who of Smarter Commerce. I want to focus quickly on the what. What exactly is Smarter Commerce? Well, I've talked a little bit about how our solution came to be, the need that we saw in the marketplace. But if you're looking for a textbook definition of who we are, we're really a family of solutions, five main product pillars that help companies, JD Edwards companies, unite their commerce or payments or retail requirements into one automated system. And the key here is that all of our products connect to JD Edwards as the single source of truth. The subject of today's webinar is our payment processing product, which includes credit card and ACH, but we also have a B2B e-commerce platform, a point of sale or retail platform. If your JD Edwards organization has some kind of a physical selling location, call center management, and a connector to the Avalara ABATax sales tax compliance platform. Again, the key here is that all of these solutions not only talk and work seamlessly with one another, but they work seamlessly with JD Edwards out of the box. And there's a number of benefits to that, which we'll get into just a few minutes. All of our solutions are Oracle validated integrations or OVI solutions. It means that Oracle has reviewed our product, our architecture, code, and they've awarded us a system code Q67 to make sure that the installed objects that we put into JD Edwards are unique and don't interact with any of your existing objects. As I mentioned, the focus of today's webinar is going to be our Smarter Commerce payment processing solution, or we sometimes call it Smarter Commerce Payments for short. But essentially, there's two sides of the coin when it comes to smarter commerce payments. The first side of the coin is what I'm going to call the sales order payment side. And basically, what this is a customer service representative is working in the P4210, P42101, the sales order entry form within JD Edwards. Maybe they have the customer on the line, and the customer indicates, hey, I'd like to pay with a credit card. Under traditional models, a JD Edwards organization would have a separate virtual terminal solution, and the CSR would have to leave JD Edwards, go to this virtual terminal, type in the customer's, perhaps their company information, maybe the order information, credit card information, hit submit, obtain a valid authorization, and then go back into JD Edwards and indicate that it was indeed paid with a credit card. And then later on in the process, once the order has been placed, when the item is ready to ship and your team is ready to now collect on that authorization, they'd have to go back into that virtual terminal and capture the funds from the previously obtained authorization. In addition, at the end of the month, presumably these two transaction records, meaning the JD Edwards sales order, maybe now is an invoice, and the credit card transaction log, let's say, from the virtual terminal or from your payments organization, those two would have to be reconciled. And someone would have to sit there and make sure that all those numbers matched up. Of course, there's always the possibility that there would be an error between those two. So that conventional process, which is how a majority of JD Edwards organizations accept credit card payments, is very manual. It's not very secure because you've got a customer dictating credit card information over the phone. Of course, it's error prone. If someone forgets to go back into the virtual terminal and charge the card when the product is shipped, now you've got product that's out the door that has not been collected on. And then, of course, someone has to sit there and reconcile both of those sets of transactions. It's a cumbersome, disconnected process. And for most JD Edwards organizations, it's very inefficient. So what Smarter Commerce Payments does is that we introduce an application that is native to JD Edwards that allows for a credit card authorization process and the capturing of funds to be inlined, seamlessly integrated with the JD Edwards order entry process and the order activity rules after that sales order is placed. Not only that, but we also allow for cards to be stored on file, not actually stored within JD Edwards, but stored at the payment gateway, securely vaulted, so that customers that frequently order with that credit card don't have to go in and authorize with the same card over and over and over. Instead, they can just use the same card on file. And then if your team wants to totally eliminate the use of credit cards being dictated over the phone, we also allow for a capability called authorized by message, which is an email that we send your customer that effectively says, hey, Jerry, thanks for placing the sales order. We'll place the sales order on hold until you complete the credit card payment. Click here to pay. And then the customer clicks on that secure link, types in their credit card details, hits submit, and then the order is automatically released off of hold in JD Edwards. We can do that via email or text. Some other benefits of Smarter Commerce Payments is that we allow flexibility when it comes to your processor relationships. And then we also partner with Braintree, or rather PayPal, for processing credit cards in case you would like to receive a competitive quote for them. Some additional points, we also have integration to a physical payment terminal. If you're using JD Edwards as a front end for your point of sale activities, and you would like to have payment terminal integration, meaning the little credit card chip and pin device, instead of servicing the customer, with a non-integrated payment terminal, or perhaps having the customer give you the credit card and sort of type it in. Obviously, a much more secure process is to use a payment terminal. We also support that integration into JD Edwards. And in some cases, our payment application can be leveraged at a third-party e-commerce or other platform as well. So what I've described is the sales order side to Smarter Commerce Payments. You'll see all of this displayed or demonstrated in just a few minutes as Diego walks us through some of these scenarios. But there's another side of the coin with Smarter Commerce Payments, and that's what we call the invoice payment side. Now, this is in the instance where a customer has already placed an order. The order has been shipped, And at this point, the order is invoiced and there's an open invoice. Maybe the customer paid it on account, or rather placed the order on account, and they would like to now pay that invoice using a credit card or perhaps ACH. Smarter Commerce offers the same convenience of an integrated payment process for the invoice side of the equation. So in this instance, you're probably talking about an account receivable personnel working at your organization who receives a call from a customer, or more likely calls a customer and says, "Hey, Jerry, you've got 3 invoices that are due today. Let's go ahead and get those paid." At that point in time, Smarter Commerce as an application can be triggered off of an invoice to go ahead and pay those invoices using a credit card or an ACH, which is a bank-to-bank transaction. And we can also allow for capabilities to help encourage customers to pay with an ACH transaction, since that's typically a much more economical way to pay for invoices. Similar to the authorized by message capability, we also have invoice pay by message capability that are basically email reminders that are sent out to your customers periodically, automatically, that let them know, "Hey, Jerry, you've got these 4 or 5 invoices that are due in the next 30 days. Click here to pay the invoices." And they have a totally automated and self-service process for paying those invoices using Smarter Commerce payments. Now, the beauty here is that Smarter Commerce is so integrated with JD Edwards that we will close out the receivable inside of JD Edwards 100% hands-free for your employees. In addition, on the invoice payment side, we make these capabilities available via a digital payment portal. More and more, this is becoming not just an expectation from your customers, but honestly, a demand, something that customers are more and more requiring, saying, "Hey, I've got all these invoices. I don't want to have to place a phone call, especially if we're in different time zones. Why can't I just pay these invoices online?" Personally, everybody in this webinar probably makes payments for bills and so on through a portal. And so your customers are increasingly expecting, in some cases, asking for this outright. So Smarter Commerce allows for a JD Edwards integrated digital payment portal for invoices. We call this Smarter Commerce e-payments, which essentially allow a customer to log in and complete many self-service capabilities by themselves, 24/7, anywhere in the world. They can log in, look at open invoices, download a copy of an invoice, make a payment against an invoice using an ACH or a credit card. They can schedule payments into the future. They can even schedule automatic payments into the future. Let's say they want to pay all of their invoices that are due, one day before they're due. They could set up these rules to facilitate automatic payments. And of course, other capabilities include order status, view visibility, order history visibility, and then account level information. The idea here is to empower your customers with the option to take care of their own requirements from a payments standpoint. And the idea here is that, hey, all these tools exist out there, and there's many, many vendors that offer, perfectly decent platforms for these capabilities. However, Smarter Commerce is the only JD Edwards first approach to addressing credit card payments, invoice payments, the entire reconciliation process natively within JD Edwards, and simultaneously addressing PCI concerns. So every time we talk about credit card information, of course, typically in that conversation, we talk about PCI. If you're not familiar with PCI, it's payment card industry. It's basically the entity that sets forth what are called data security standards for how credit cards should be handled. If your organization is handling credit cards, then you should be PCI DSS compliant. Not only if you are a payment solution like Smarter Commerce, but if your organization is handling credit cards in any way, PCI needs to be at the top of your mind. It's very typical that we interact with JD Edwards organizations that don't really know what PCI is, don't really do a PCI validation process internally, even though they should, and are looking to offload some of their PCI scope and responsibility to a platform that facilitates that for them. The good news is that Smarter Commerce does just this. Smarter Commerce is a PCI DSS Level 1 certified service provider. The way that our solution is architected, it addresses many of those requirements so that the PCI scope for your organization is significantly minimized. For example, we tokenize all cardholder information outside of JD Edwards. We allow a pathway for your team to never hear or type credit card information into any device from your organization. And the list continues from then on. We can get much more detailed on how exactly Smarter Commerce, helps you facilitate things from a PCI standpoint. But that is really one of the biggest driving interests on why organizations are talking to Smarter Commerce for payments. PCI can be very laborious, and the consequences for taking PCI lightly can be very significant, not just from an exposure standpoint, from a fraud standpoint, but PCI itself is formed by MasterCard, Visa, by the different payment entities out there. And if they find egregious, issues with how an organization is handling credit card information, they might just rescind the option to pay with credit card at all for that organization, which is, of course, very severe. And it only happens in exceptional circumstances. But if you guys, as an organization, if you're not thinking about PCI and you are accepting credit cards as a form of payment, you have to be thinking about PCI. It's absolutely critical. Smarter Commerce helps you minimize that scope significantly, and of course, our team completes that validation every year. So we have team members that certainly are very versed in the world of PCI. With that said, what we're going to be transitioning to now is the demonstration portion of our agenda. I'm going to be handing things over to Diego Fernandez so that he can basically walk through a few scenarios here related to working inside of a demo JD Edwards Enterprise One environment. And of course, he's going to be walking through the Smarter Commerce payment solution from a sales order and from an account receivable and invoice payment standpoint. So with that said, Diego, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. You should be able to take over and begin sharing your screen. And on that note, just a quick encouragement to all of the attendees. If you do have any questions, please go ahead and type that into the Q&A box. At Zoom, some of our team members may be reaching out to you if you have any additional questions and would like to take this to a one-on-one discussion. Of course, our team is more than willing to schedule that, even as we're on the webinar today, to be able to schedule that and discuss this in greater detail with your team. So with that said, Diego, I am able to see your screen, and I think we're ready to get going.
All righty. Thank you, Jerry. And good afternoon or good morning to all on the call. As Jerry mentioned, I'm going to walk through a few scenarios regarding our solution and how it's integrated into your JD Edwards Enterprise One. We will walk through a couple of the more common scenarios, such as an order to cash process, where as part of the order entry, the customer decides or wishes to pay this order with a credit card. And then we'll look at some collections capabilities where we have open accounts receivable invoices that are now coming due and the customer desires to make payment, but they would like to use a credit card or an ACH transfer. There's many other capabilities that our solution can handle across many scenarios, but we're going to focus on those two primarily today. And then I'll highlight where you can find more information regarding other scenarios. So I'm going to log into our demonstration environment here. This is a JD Edwards 9.2 environment. We support all of the nines of JD Edwards, 9.0, 9.1, 9.2, and obviously 23, 24, 25. And now we're going through the validation of 26, which is soon to be released. So here for this first scenario, as I mentioned, we're going to be walking through the process of order entry through what's called sales posting of sales, which creates your general ledger transactions, your AR transactions, and then we're going to do the posting of the payment itself, clearing out the open AR and obviously working through the reconciliation processes. So let's begin at assuming that we have a customer on the telephone and they are desiring to enter a sales order with us. And as part of that sales order, they wish to pay for that sales order with a credit card. So here I'm going to enter in via the sales order header, the more common information, and let the rest default in from the customer master of the customer. And then it'll drive us to the order entry of products. So I'm going to go ahead and enter in a few sample products as part of my order that I am completing. And then once I've entered in all of my order lines that that customer is desiring, I will either click on submit and enter new or submit and close, either of which will drive your JD Edwards Enterprise One user, your customer service person, your sales person, to a Smarter Commerce JD Edwards application delivered with our solution. This application is under system code Q67. As Jerry mentioned earlier, we are Oracle validated. And as part of the Oracle validation process, we received our own system code. So we are system code Q67. So all of the objects that we deliver, whether they be applications, reports, uh, business functions, named event rules, views, anything that we deliver, it will be under system code Q67, so there's no conflict with the standard code that is delivered directly from JD Edwards Oracle. So let me explain a little bit about the application that you're currently looking at. This is an application that allows us to summarize the overall amount to be authorized on the credit card. And as part of it, also allows us to connect out to do that authorization, entering in the credit card information provided by the customer. So here in the top left, you see the customer number, in this case, Ace Tools, customer 4243. And then right below it is address verification information. This is typically the address associated to the credit card that is being utilized by the customer. This is their billing address. We have validation services that can verify the billing address associated to the card that is being utilized. These services are optional, but they are available as part of the integration. As you can see here, a masked credit card has been returned by the system. This is because this customer in particular has credit cards on file with us. And when we use the term credit cards on file, what that really means is that it's been stored at the payment gateway and processor, which they take responsibility for storing that for you in a vaulted system under your account. And what is provided back is a token number along with the last four digits of the card for reference purposes. So here we can see that they do have a card on file and can then be utilized in order to speed up the process and the customer not having to dictate their card every time. They can just confirm the last four digits and then provide what's called the card security code, which is that 3 or 4 digit card number that you normally find on your credit cards. This is, again, a optional service that you can validate the card security code. It is highly recommended. That way you know that the customer has that credit card in their possession and can dictate those 3 or 4 digit numbers to you. Over to the right, we can see our order number, and right below it is a running total of the amount to be authorized. As you can see here at the very top is the subtotal of product. Right below it is the calculated sales tax by JD Edwards. We have many customers that use JD Edwards standard tax tables, or they use Vertex as the tax engine, or many customers that use Avalara Avatax cloud-based tax engine, which we also are support and deliver as part of our modules. Either way, whatever tax engine you use, JD Edwards will then calculate that tax and provide it to us. We then have a capability that we normally label on the screen freight, but really what it is a uplift of the authorization amount. We have come to learn that many customers in the JD Edwards world during the order entry process or the step in order entry don't know the exact amount of freight yet. Now, if you do have transportation turned on or you calculate the freight up front, then perfect. We can consider that as part of the order total. But for those customers that don't have that and want to uplift the authorization for expected freight to be added in later in the process, we have capabilities around that. This way, you can make sure that you are protected and are authorizing a significant amount of that order so that later when you do add in the actual freight, you're charging and you are covered for that freight portion. This is an accepted practice. You are allowed to do that for expected additional costs that to be added in as part of the order process. Down below, you can also see capabilities around credit card surcharging. We do have credit card surcharging functionality. This is, again, an optional capability that you can turn on or off. And surcharging allows you to do what's called a pass-through of your processor fees. So depending on your state, you can charge up to a certain percentage, not to exceed what you pay for your processor fees to the customer to recover that portion of cost for processing that credit card transaction. So at this moment in time, we are doing an authorization totaling $474.92, which includes the uplift, the tax, the product, and then expected credit card surcharges as a pass-through. Now that we know the total, now we need to know, are we going to enter the credit card that is going to be dictated by the customer? Are we going to use a credit card on file to be authorized against an existing card? Or are we going to use a capability called authorized by message? Authorized by message allows me to send an encrypted link to the customer, and the customer themselves enters in the credit card information. So for this first example, that's what we'll do. And then we'll do a second example of entering the credit card if the customer wishes to dictate it to you. So by clicking on authorized by message, it brings me a list of the who's who emails that are on file for my customer. I can also go out and select a telephone if on file. This telephone does have to be text friendly so that we can send the link via a text and they can enter the credit card information right on their mobile phone. Or if they desire to go ahead and use an email, they would go ahead and select the email, or you can type the email directly into this field here, separated by a semicolon to each of the email addresses that you desire to notify. So I've gone ahead and selected an email. I'm going to go ahead and save it, and I'm going to go ahead and save my order. At this point, I, as the CSR or the customer service rep or salesperson, I'm done with that customer. I can go ahead and hang up. I can move on to the next customer. The order has been saved into JD Edwards, but it's been saved with a specific hold code. This hold code is configurable by you. You would set up a hold code within your JD Edwards system, and that hold code would dictate that the credit card authorization is pending to be processed by the customer. So while the order is waiting on hold, the customer then will receive an email from the JD Edwards system with a link on it allowing them to process their authorization. That email will be branded to your corporate standards. It'll look something like this, where you'll have your image, obviously, for your organization, any verbiage you wish to state here, along with their order number so that they know it's legit, the amount to be authorized, and they would click on the Pay Now button, which is going to drive the user either via their smartphone, if they're doing this on their smartphone, or via their desktop out to what we call the Pay Cloud, the payment cloud, which hosts the credit card processor and payment gateway. Here it gives them order information, gives them their customer information, gives them their order totals here based on the information they know, and also the products of their order so that they can verify all of the information being accurate. And once they have verified it, they can then select their method of payment that they desire. Here, I'm going to go ahead and use a credit card where I can type in the credit card information, my name on card associated to the credit card that I'm being utilizing, and my credit card information, my number, and the expiration date for my card. Once I've entered all of this, I can go ahead and click apply, which verifies the information just entered along with the cards, the surcharges, authorizes the total amount. Once verified and everything is good, I can go ahead and process my authorization payment. And at that time, I have now completed my end of the bargain, being the customer. So the customer is now entered in their credit card, they've authorized funds. Back in JD Edwards, there is a batch process that would be set up in your unattended nightly operations or scheduler. Most customers run this process maybe once an hour, once every 30 minutes, once every 15 minutes, all depending on the volume of transactions that you're doing, to retrieve all of those authorizations automatically and release the order off of hold. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. Again, this is normally with most customers set up in the scheduler system of JD Edwards. It runs every so often, and once it runs, you'll notice that it releases that order off of hold, and it writes information to the JD Edwards prepayment tables so that we have a historical transaction here for a credit card payment in the total of $474.92. This is the token that is returned as part of the authorization transaction ID. And then the status of the transaction itself, which if I look up my status means that I have a valid authorization out there in the credit card world. So at this point, my order now can continue the order process. It can move to the next steps in the phase, whatever that is in your environment, whether it be picking, packing, and shipping. Before we do that, I'm going to enter a second example of our order here. And this example, I'm going to take and assume that the customer is wanting to provide the credit card information via the telephone. So in this example, I, as the salesperson, am going to go ahead and enter the credit card information directly. So here I go through this method here, and I'm going to use this button, authorize with a new card, for my order total. While I'm here, I'm going to highlight a couple of other capabilities that we have as part of our solution. We can set up also what are called deposits and installments. Deposits and installments allow you to set up a payment plan for a particular order. This is widely used by our customers if they have long-standing orders. maybe manufactured to build or engineer to build or type orders, and you want to take some payments as you progress through your order. We also have a charge with a terminal device. Terminal devices are normally seen like in retail outlets and things of that nature. Verifone devices are very common a type of a terminal device, but we integrate with credit card terminal devices. We have many customers that utilize our terminal devices integration at counter operations, walk up customers right up to the counter, maybe at the warehouse, and you want to take a chip and pin credit card immediately there instead of having to dictate or enter in that credit card information. So, but for this example, we're going to assume that I have the customer on the phone and they want to dictate their card to me. So I'm going to go ahead and click this button, which would drive the Enterprise One user out to the Pay Cloud. This would be, again, branded to your corporate standards. And it's here that that user would enter in, that customer service user or salesperson would enter in the credit card information that is dictated by your customer to you. Once I have that, I can go ahead and hit verify. And once I have a successful transaction, at this point, then I can return to JD Edwards and pull back the token information related to that order. Here is my last 4 digits of my card. Here's my authorization code. And then over here to the right is that token transaction ID in the amount of 60116. And now I can go ahead and save my order as the salesperson and I'm done. So now I have 2 orders in the system that we can walk through the rest of the process. So let's go ahead and do that. As you recall, we have order number 9259, and we now also have order number 9260 that are in both have authorizations against and now are ready to be picked, packed, and shipped within my system here. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to walk through some very common warehouse type scenarios here, assuming again that I'm picking my order now and I'm going to process my order for the 2 that we just entered. So we'll go ahead and run pick slips. And we'll give our orders a moment to process here. If I come back over here, we can see that the order status has now moved to 560, which in my environment means ship confirmation. So we're going to go ahead and do that at this point for each of our 2 orders. And we'll quickly confirm these orders. And as part of the shipment confirmation process, JD Edwards gives you the ability to add in additional costs. So we're going to mimic that we're adding in some actual freight to our order here. So as part of this, I'm going to go ahead and add in $20 of actual freight as part of each of these orders, and save that to my existing order for the actual freight that's being charged to ship out the product to the customer. All right, so we'll go ahead and save that, and we're going to go ahead and do the same now for our second order, and we'll also add in some additional freight as part of this order. And we'll add for this one, we'll add $25 worth of freight. All right, so now we've ship confirmed both of our orders. If I go back and re-inquire, we're going to notice now that we have our freight line we just added along with our original product information. And now it's at a new status 569, which in my environment, and this is configurable based on order activity rules, but in my environment, 569 means that it's ready for credit card settlement, which is our next step in my process here. We're going to go ahead and run the credit card settlement process. Credit card settlement, normally at most customers, they run it in unattended nightly operations. But here I'm going to run it manually in order to obviously move it along more quickly. So then we're going to go ahead and select the couple of orders that we are currently working with to process them through and to go ahead and charge the credit card. So I've selected here my two orders. Typically, customers leave this wide open and select any order that is ready for settlement status and process them as part of unattended nightly operations and allow them to go through and charge the credit card. So here, that's what that process is currently doing. We'll give it just a moment to select those orders, find the order totals, find any sales tax, calculate all of the discounts and so on, and then charge the credit card. I'm going to go ahead and open the batch report that is associated to this order, to this report, excuse me. Here is the report itself. Let me just zoom in a little. We can see each of our two orders, 92, 59, and 60, the amount of surcharge that was calculated as a final charge, and the amount that was charged to each credit card. And we have submitted them successfully for settlement for each of these amounts. This report is a key report because it will total the total amounts that has been submitted for settlement and the total amount that you should be getting paid by your payment processor into your merchant bank account the next morning based on all of these settlements. So here it calculates through and obviously charges the credit cards, and then you receive payment. So this helps you to reconcile all of the transactions that have been processed. All right, now that we've settled our transactions and we charged the credit card, it moved it along to the next steps. Here is our surcharge line, which is added into the invoice so that you can account for that and post it like other lines of your order. All of that is added in if you obviously are processing credit card surcharges. And then at this point now, we can go ahead and do what's called invoicing and sales update as part of our process. So we're going to do that at this point of the process. And for our two orders here, and process them in and generate the invoices associated to these orders to obviously be delivered out to your customers. Once this completes, then I'll go ahead and run what's called the sales update. And as you know, sales update in JD Edwards means that I am posting the sales ledger. I'm closing out any of these sales transactions to the historical tables. I'm also generating all the general ledger entries, and I'm creating a record in the customer ledger accounts receivable system. So we'll go ahead and do that. It will post into the customer ledger in an invoice for the order that we just processed through and have completed. Here is my sales update report that we just processed. Here is my invoice number set for the first one and my second one, and the various transaction lines for the general ledger. If I go to the customer ledger here real quick, if I inquire on the customer ledger itself, and I look up the two orders that we're working with here, 9259 and 9260, we'll see the invoice lines in the general ledger, but temporarily they are open because we haven't yet processed the last step of the process, which is to post the payments that we've just settled. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. This will then take all of those settled payments and automatically apply them to their respective invoices based on any open payments that I have out there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for my two orders here. Most customers will execute these processes, especially the payment post and unattended nightly operations, which picks up all of those payments and applies them, utilizing a capability within the JD Edwards system of the automated cash receipts processing. Now that I have executed that, if I return to my customer ledger here and I refresh my screen, we'll notice that the open amount is now closed. There's no longer a balance due because there's a payment, and that payment got posted into the cash receipts information of JD Edwards for historical purposes and tracking purposes. So as you can see, we take the process from end to end with our solution, automating the entire process when you take credit cards. And then obviously the last thing that you need to be able to do is the next morning, you want to be able to reconcile all of those payments. That too, we also have automated processes that pull back the deposits from into your merchant bank and then tick and tie each of those transactions based on the transaction IDs and the amounts to make sure that they are matching up and then reconciling them. But if you desire to do it manually, we also have a manual application that allows you to do the same for your reconciliation account wherever you post those expected payments to be coming in for your customer. All right, so that is the sort of the end-to-end process as it relates to a sales order where your customer wants to pay for that sales order with a credit card. But there are other processes such as a customer that maybe you have on terms and that customer desires to clear some of their open accounts receivable with you via a payment using a credit card or ACH payment. We have capabilities across the board in the payments area as collections capabilities to allow you to do these type of processes. So if the customer wants to use a credit card to pay off some invoices, they can come through here and select the invoices that they may have open. And then once they've selected those invoices, they can go in and then enter the credit card information in order to process a payment against those selected invoices that customer desires to pay. So they can pick here, obviously, one or many invoices, depending on their needs, and return them here, and then we can go ahead and charge the credit card. Notice here it says the word charge and not the word authorized. And that is because that's exactly what we're doing. We're doing an immediate charge against the credit card as a collections tool for the open AR invoices, applying the payment immediately. We also have surcharge capabilities here if you want to take advantage of that to, again, pass through some of those processor fees to your customer. We also have other capabilities that may be of interest, future dating charges. Some of our customers like to schedule their payments. So maybe the invoices aren't due till this Friday, but they had a moment to come in and schedule that payment. They can definitely do that and schedule it for a date in the future, and it will automatically charge the credit card at that moment of entry. We also have unapplied receipts. So maybe you don't know what invoices they want to pay off, but they want to reduce their overall AR exposure. You can utilize those, and that creates an RU, unapplied receipt, into your JD Edwards. Or you have credit cards on file capabilities if they have cards on file with you to be able to be utilized as part of the payment process. So this allows you to pay open AR invoices using a credit card. We have a similar capability within our collections module, but now with ACH. So if you want to take advantage of a lower cost point of processing a payment, that would be ACH payments, where you would do an ACH transfer from your customer's bank to you obviously gaining the appropriate authorizations from your customer to do that, but you would go through and process through an ACH request against the customer's bank routing number and bank account for the invoices that customer is desiring to pay off. Now, we cover a lot of other functionality as part of our solution. We have other areas within our collections module. For example, we can send out email reminders to customers, letting them know that invoices are coming due and payment is needed for those invoices. These emails will look something like this, where it will let the customer know. Obviously, this would be branded to your corporate standards and whatever verbiage you wish to put here, but it'll let the customer know that an invoice is coming due. Here, in this example, an invoice on the 13th for $500, and that a payment is due. So when the customer receives this notification reminder, they can go in and go to your corporate branded payment portal. They can see that the invoice that is to be paid, and they can go through and walk through a payment cycle. And then here they can again either use credit card. We have alternative payments such as Apple Pay, Google Pay, PayPal, and others available if your organization wants to extend those type of payments, and or an ACH transfer here if the customer prefers to just pay via an ACH transfer. Many customers here obviously will charge a credit card surcharge fee to entice the customer to use alternative style payments like ACH, which is a much lower cost option for yourselves to process those payments and apply them directly against those open AR invoices. So that's another capability. And then another one I want to highlight, but and we have many others, but here is our auto pay system. We have many customers that are taking advantage of this in that they will set up an auto pay automatically to clear off invoices when they're coming due. This allows you to set up these rules for your individual customers, set up what invoice types they want to pay with this rule, and set up when they're going to be making payment. So for example, for this customer here, I'm paying all open invoices upon due date. So there's different capabilities here that are available to the user. Auto pay is very widely used now by our customers because they provide some benefits to their customer base for setting up the auto pay plan, but then they keep that cash flowing and clearing off of these open AR invoices once they're coming due. As I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of other capabilities that our solution has, and I welcome you to go out to our website, smartercommerce.net. And go to our resource product documentation. And here you'll find our documentation publicly accessible for all of our modules, but the one that we're focused on today is our payments module. And you can see here, there's a wealth of information here for many different processes that we cover. From analysis reports to deposit and installment information, how to reconcile payments, pay by email, and future payments, and returns and credits and refunds, all of that highlighted here in detail so that you can gain a good understanding of all of the capabilities that are available within our solution. And then sitting on top of all of this is an additional module that many of our customers are taking advantage of, and that is our electronic invoice presentment and payment portal. This sits on top of your JD Edwards, where your customers, this is a website portal where your customers can log in and self-service themselves uh, to review, download invoices, review existing sales orders in your JD Edwards, but mainly primarily to pay for invoices that are open. And go through and make payment or schedule auto pay rules or schedule a future payment. All of those capabilities available through a portal that is real-time connected into your JD Edwards, allowing your customer base to truly self-service themselves without having to call into your call center or your collections and credit and collections department to clear off any type of invoices or correct any issues that they may have. So that's just a quick overview. I know we're coming up to our time here, so I'm going to pass the presentation back to Jerry for any final comments and review of any questions.
Excellent, Diego. Appreciate you walking through all those different use cases and scenarios. Just a quick word, folks, before we wrap up here. Number one, if your team is accepting credit cards as a form of payment today, but you don't have a JD Edwards integrated process, reach out. We'd love to understand more about your process and how we can help facilitate things, improve things on the PCI side. Or maybe you're a JD Edwards organization and you don't currently accept credit cards. Again, we'd welcome to connect. We can share some unique perspectives on how different JD Edwards organizations have done it, the pros and cons of using credit cards as a form of payment, as well as some of the benefits of using an integrated solution. We appreciate everybody's time. Thank you for the Q&A throughout the session. Like I mentioned, today's session is recorded, so everybody that registered for today's webinar and attended will receive a recording of the actual session. Thanks again to everybody for your time. And if you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to Diego or myself via the emails that I'm sharing there on the screen. Once again, thanks to everybody. We appreciate your time. And I hope that everybody has a wonderful rest of your week.